say what's the character's name?
We are live. This has been a minute. It's been a while since we've done a live story. I tried to do one the other night, but it didn't go very well. Also, we apparently have some lighting issues here, some lighting difficulties in seeing. I don't know if that's better. That might be a little better. This might be a little better. I think partly because we did this over the summer mostly, and the lighting at this time of night was a little lighter. And we're getting later in the year, early in the fall. It's still 91 degrees outside, but whatever, doesn't matter. You know, it's just how it goes sometimes in September in Indiana. But it is a little darker in here, which is causing some lighting issues. So I might just not do the pictures. I might just go ahead and read the story.
Turn that other light on.
For the background on this, again, I feel like I like to say this at the start of every story, just because you never know when someone might just stumble across one, in the middle of this series. It's good to share just a little bit of the background on these stories. This one tonight, this book has fallen apart a little bit. It's a little more challenging to read through, just because of some of the language that I'm going to change in the book to bring it up to speed here. And excuse me, hi, yes, sir. What can I do? I'm going to pause this since Lucas has gotten out of bed, so we're going to pause this now. Excuse me, sir. Yes, sir.
The name of the story is Cochise.
Cochise, yeah. Thank you, Lucas. Okay. Cochise, I'm not sure exactly. Jen, you got a ruling on that? Have you heard about this one? Okay, well, at any rate, we are going to get started here. So again, these are just stories that I had when I was a kid growing up, and they're just books about different values in life and historical figures that embodied those characteristics, those qualities, the morals that they lived their lives by. And it's a really cool series of books to teach, anyone really about different morals, different values, and, how people use them throughout our history. So we're going to go ahead and read this one. This one is The Value of Truth and Trust. The story of Cochise, the boys say. And we're not sure if we're saying that right. Again, this isn't like anything professional or whatnot. We just read what we see, and if it's wrong, it's wrong. That's fine,
Like I read that one to kids. Like the last 2 nights, I didn't know how to pronounce something.
The Value of Truth and Trust, the story of Cochise. So, again, just to kind of give you an idea about how old these books are, this one obviously has fallen apart. See? Look at that. It's all fallen apart into multiple splits. It's bad news bears, but we do what we can.
He likes the bears.
So this book here is copyright 1977. So again, 42 years old. It's really old. Not nearly as old as things that were created in 1976, but that's just the way years work. So 1977 with math, and I'm good at math, that's 42 years old. So it's an old book. And I think this is an original. So, all right, anyway, that's a long intro, 4 minutes we've spent talking about it, and we're just going to get right into it. My boy's ready to hear a bedtime story. Yes. We're getting kind of tired, so hopefully we can get through this story. All right, so here we go. Once upon a time, there lived a little Indian boy. I've already messed that up. I'm going to start over. You'll notice the difference. Once upon a time, there lived a little Native American boy named Cochise. Like all children, he loved to have fun. Sometimes he played with his Native American friends. At other times, he pretended that the animals were his playmates. He pretended to race with the rabbit and to talk with the vulture. But as Cochise grew older, he learned that he had more to do then dancing and playing. One day, Cochise's father called the boy to him. Cochise's father was chief of the Chiricahua Apache tribe in the mountains of Arizona. "My son," the father said, "someday you must take my place as chief. Before that time, there are many things I must teach you." The lessons began when Cochise's father taught him to make weapons. "But why do I make weapons?" asked Cochise. "Because you must be a great hunter and warrior if you are to be chief," said his father. "The people must believe you are ready to protect them, and you may have to fight to defend our tribe against enemies who would take away our lands." Cochise learned many things from his father. He learned from his grandfather, too. "To find an animal, you must follow the right path," said the wise old man. "And there is a right path to follow if you wish to be a great chief. Always tell the truth. If you lie, our people won't trust you to lead them. So be truthful. You'll feel better and you'll be happy." Like most boys and girls, Cochise liked to pretend. One day, he pretended that smoke from the fire was the Great Spirit telling him how to be a wise chief. "Settlers are moving west," the Great Spirit seemed to say. "When you are chief, you can help them understand the ways of our people. Trust them, and you can be friends." Just then, the vulture came to perch near Cochise. "I'm not sure that's such a good idea," the vulture seemed to say. "I don't think you should be too trusting." Cochise blinked. Then he laughed, for he knew that the vulture wasn't really talking. Cochise was really hearing his own negative thoughts. Cochise also knew that it wasn't what he thought that would count. It was what he actually did that would be important. The years passed and Cochise became chief. He remembered his grandfather's words and he was truthful. His people knew they could trust him because he never lied to anyone. There was a great feast when Cochise became chief. The Native American braves danced with joy, and even the vulture fluttered happily in circles. "That's great," said Cochise, seeing the bird. "The vulture is too busy having fun to bother me." Cochise wanted to be a wise leader. He promised himself he would do everything he could to make his people happy. What do you think he did? He went to the army post nearby and he talked to the colonel who was in command of the soldiers there. "White settlers are moving into Apache lands," said Cochise. "You and your men are here to protect them. I have come to tell you that I want peace with the settlers." "I too want peace," replied the colonel. "Good," said Cochise. "If my people are allowed to move freely on our ancient lands, we will have no reason to fight with your soldiers." "I agree," said the colonel. The colonel and Cochise did try to keep the peace, but the ways of the settlers were too different from the ways of the Native Americans. The settlers built fences that cut off old Native American hunting trails. This puzzled and annoyed the Native Americans. Everyone grew nervous and unhappy, and it was harder and harder for the Native Americans and the settlers to stay out of each other's way. Then something very sad happened. A group of Apaches who were not from Cochise's tribe went on the warpath. They didn't trust the settlers, and they were angry about things the settlers were doing. The Apache attacks made the settlers distrust the Native Americans. They thought all Native Americans wanted to hurt them. Of course, this wasn't true. Cochise could be trusted to keep the peace. But then a terrible mistake was made. Some Native Americans raided and drove off all the rancher's cattle. The rancher thought it was Cochise and his men. He was wrong. Cochise wasn't there. But in fear and anger, the rancher jumped to the wrong conclusion. I'll go to the army, said the rancher. The soldiers will help me get even with Cochise. Sorry about that. I'm not 100% health-wise, but we're going to get through this. It's not going to be a problem. It's going to be great. Everything's going to be great. The rancher went to the army post, where a young lieutenant was now in charge. Cochise and his braves attacked my ranch and stole my cattle, cried the rancher. They have to be punished. The lieutenant had just arrived at the post and didn't know Cochise. He believed the rancher's story. I was afraid we couldn't trust the Native Americans, said the lieutenant. I'll find a way to take Cochise prisoner. The lieutenant rode to the stage company. I know you're friendly with Cochise, said the station keeper. Can you go to him and ask him to come to the army post? I want to question him about an attack on a ranch. Cochise wouldn't attack a ranch, said the station keeper. Well, the rancher says it was Cochise, so I have to get his side of the story, said the lieutenant slyly. I'll go and speak with Cochise, said the station keeper, but I think there's been a mistake. Cochise only wants to build trust between the settlers and the Native Americans. Cochise was very upset when he learned why the lieutenant wanted to see him. I said I would keep the peace, and I do not lie, he told the station keeper. Then Cochise frowned. I don't feel safe going to the army post, he thought, but I promised to do everything I could to keep the peace. I must go and prove it was not my warriors who attacked the ranch. Be careful, Cochise, whispered the suspicious vulture. The lieutenant may be lying to you. But Cochise wouldn't listen to the vulture. He went to the post with some of his family, and as a sign of peace, he went unarmed. As he approached the post, he could see a flag of truce. Good, thought Cochise. That means I can come and go safely. The soldiers will listen to my side of the story. Do you think the soldiers were going to listen to Cochise? The doubting vulture wasn't so sure. The vulture was right to be fearful. As soon as Cochise and his people entered the camp, they were seized by soldiers and made prisoners. Cochise was very angry. My people and I have come here under a flag of truce, he said. We have been living in peace. We did not attack the ranch. You have broken your word, but I have kept mine. I don't believe you, sneered the lieutenant. You're lying. Cochise tried to escape, cried the vulture. Cochise was strong and clever. He did manage to get away from the soldiers, and he raced from the post with bullets flying everywhere. I told you the soldiers were lying, screamed the vulture. Cochise didn't answer. He ran for his life, not stopping until the soldiers were far behind. And when he finally did stop to catch his breath, he thought of his people who were still back at the army post. They had not been able to get away. Just relax. Cochise was glad to have escaped, but he wondered what to do about his people. He wondered, too, about the value of truth and trust. Don't be silly, croaked the vulture. Look, where telling the truth has gotten you. If the settlers and the soldiers lie to you, why shouldn't you lie to them? Cochise almost believed what the vulture said. But then he remembered the lessons his grandfather had taught him. I will not lie, Cochise told the vulture. I know what is right. Cochise went back to his village and gathered his tribe together. The lieutenant lied to us, he told them. He has broken his trust. The soldiers took some of us prisoner. I escaped, but the others did not. It is a sad thing that we must do now. The white men at the stage station must be captured and held until our people are returned to us. The Apaches did capture the men at the stage station. Cochise then sent one of his braves to talk to the soldiers about exchanging the prisoners. Would the young lieutenant listen? No way, he said. We're going to teach you not to attack ranchers. But Cochise didn't attack that ranch, said the Native American. I don't believe you, snapped the lieutenant. Cochise never lies, said the Native American. Even when it is difficult to do, he tells the truth. Everyone who knows Cochise trusts him. Well, I don't know him and I don't trust him, said the lieutenant. What do you think happens when people don't trust each other? They often end up fighting. When he couldn't get his own people back, Cochise felt he had no choice. He had to fight with the soldiers. And so a terrible war began. As in all wars, people were hurt on both sides. Some died. Many wished there was some way to live in peace again. If only we could trust the settlers and the soldiers again, thought Cochise sadly. If only they would trust us. We can never build trust while we are fighting. True story. While the war raged between the Native Americans and the soldiers, a second war started. It was called the Civil War. It was far away in the eastern part of the United States. Many of the soldiers rode out of Apache territory and went off to that war. Some of Cochise's braves thought they had driven off the soldiers. Don't be too sure about that, Cochise, warned the vulture. You have no reason to think that the soldiers won't be back. Besides, said the vulture, there are still settlers in the area. Soldiers have probably stayed behind to protect them. Your war is not over, Cochise. Cochise suspected that the vulture was right, but even while the fighting went on, something good happened. A white man named Tom Jeffords found an injured Apache boy one day. Even though he was traveling deep in hostile Native American territory, Tom stopped to help the boy. Tom had fought against the Apaches. He knew he could be in great danger, but he was a good and kind man, and in one way he was different from most other white men. Tom respected the Apaches. He had even learned to speak their language. He did everything he could to make the Native American boy feel better, and even though he knew it would be dangerous for him to go to an Apache village, he promised to take the boy home. And what do you think happened? Tom rode into the Native American village with the boy. He found himself surrounded by angry braves. Tom was worried. He knew the Apaches did not trust the white men. But the little Native American boy called out to his people, "This man saved my life." The warriors did not know what to do with this white man who had ridden into their village. They began to talk quietly among themselves. "We should take him to Cochise," said one of the Apaches. "Yes," said another. "Let Cochise decide what to do with him." What do you think Cochise did with Tom? First, he questioned the man. "Why did you come to our village?" he demanded. "Because the boy was injured and helpless," said Tom. "I couldn't just leave him to die." Cochise was surprised. You risked your life to save a Native American boy, he said. Surely you have not fought against us. But I have, admitted Tom. Cochise stared at Tom. You are here in our camp, surrounded by warriors, and yet you admit that you have fought against us, he said. Then Cochise turned to his braves. This man does not lie, he told them. I feel we can trust him. Why do you think Cochise trusted Tom so quickly? Because Cochise saw that Tom told the truth, even when it might have been safer for him to lie. Cochise so respected Tom for his bravery and truthfulness that the two men became close friends. Each one trusted the other completely. They even became brothers. Cochise asked the vulture, Are you sure you can trust this man? Yes, said Cochise firmly. But even though Tom and Cochise were friends, most of the Native Americans still distrusted white men. And when the Civil War was over, great numbers of soldiers returned to the Native Americans' land. I told you they'd be back, the vulture squawked to Cochise. Now, what are you going to do? I'm afraid I will have to fight some more, said Cochise sadly. Once again, he put on his war paint. He called his braves together, and they rode out of the Apache village. Why can't more people be like Tom Jeffords, thought Cochise. If they were, I could live in peace with them. Now the battles between the soldiers and the Native Americans were worse than ever. More and more people were hurt or killed. Something had to be done to end the fighting. Far away in Washington, the President of the United States met with a man named General Howard. Everyone knows that you're completely honest, said President Grant to the general. This horrible war with the Apaches must be ended. I'm sending you to Arizona. If anyone can make Cochise believe we truly want peace, you can. It won't be easy, Mr. President, said General Howard, but I'll do my best. I'll find a way to reach Cochise and try to make peace. How do you suppose General Howard found Cochise? He asked Tom Jeffords to take word to the Apache chief. Let Cochise know that we're ready to make peace, said the general. Ask him to trust me the way he trusts you. Tell him I want to meet with him. Of course, said Tom, and he hurried to Cochise. When Cochise heard that General Howard was a truthful man, he agreed to meet with him. Cochise and a band of his warriors rode to the Dragoon Mountains to meet with General Howard and his soldiers. I trust Tom Jeffords, Cochise told General Howard. He says that you are truthful. I have been waiting to find a leader who can be trusted. I hope you are that man. General Howard and Cochise agreed to stop fighting while they talked about ending the war. Cochise promised to call the other Apache chiefs together. We can't have a peace treaty until all the chiefs arrive, said Cochise. I will wait as long as it takes, said the general. The vulture flew around Cochise. Can you really trust General Howard, he asked. And will the other chiefs really agree to a treaty? We will see, said Cochise, and when the other chiefs arrived, he spoke up firmly. I trust the general, he said. I really believe the president wants peace. Once we agree to a treaty, we must keep our word. I am sure General Howard will see the other people will keep their word as well. A few of the chiefs had fought too long. They had suffered too much and heard too many lies. They rode away, ready to go on with the war. The rest of the Apaches wanted peace. They agreed to make the treaty. Cochise carried the message to General Howard. Most of us have agreed, he said. We want peace. This was what the general had been hoping to hear. I really believe that the Native Americans and the white people can learn to live happily together, he said. Perhaps he is telling the truth, thought the doubting vulture. I'll wait and see. But it looked like there would be peace at last. And peace did come. At first, the Apaches were offered a reservation far away from their homeland. This will not do, said Cochise. General Howard then promised that the tribe would be free to live in peace on their ancient lands. The general also agreed that Tom Jeffords would be the Native American agent for the reservation. Tom spoke the Apache language, and he would help the Native Americans to live peacefully with the white people. The future looked bright. Life returned to normal. Again, Cochise had time to hunt and fish. This is what happens when people trust one another, he told Tom. Yes, Cochise, Tom agreed, and we'll have peace so long as we all keep our word. If we lie, there will be more fighting, and more people will get hurt. The vulture had certainly seen enough harm caused by distrust and lying. He thought for a moment, then he said, telling the truth and having people trust you are the best way. I just hope everyone remembers this in days ahead. Because Cochise and Tom Jeffords always told the truth. They trusted each other, and they were able to bring peace to lots of people. And what about you? Aren't you happier when you tell the truth? Don't you feel better when people trust you because they know you don't lie? Now, you may not be able to end a war, as Cochise did, but you can do something just as important. You can learn the value of telling the truth and can gain the trust of people who know you. Then you can be happier too, just like our truthful friend, Cochise. Good story. Lots of lessons in there about telling the truth and trusting one another. And there's certainly lots of value in telling the truth and being honest and being open, being transparent with one another. When we tell the truth and when we're honest, we have a really good opportunity to resolve problems and create just a healthy respect for each other, even if we don't agree on things. It even facilitates us trusting one another, even though we might not agree on things. This is a really good story for today and the time of life that we're living in and all the things that are happening in the world. But I'd argue that it's also important for all generations, as the story sort of transcends generations. I mean, this is a classically fundamental value for healthy relationships and creating peace with those whom we may not think peace is possible. So a really good story. Honestly, it's one of the stories that I don't really remember growing up. I don't really remember reading this one until the other day we read it. And if you look at it, this is actually the sixth book of the series. So this was actually pretty fresh, like pretty new out of the series. So I think we're close to having the whole series online. There we might just be one or two short. Probably time to go through that and kind of look through all the books and see which ones we've got on here and which ones we don't. But the original goal was to get them all online so that they could be preserved. And I know that the ones that I've done currently or previously have been used for just bedtime stories. People have been using them, putting their kids in bed and letting a story play. It's a really good thing, to hear a good bedtime story, something that's meaningful, something that's powerful value, just as all these historical figures have had. So, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening tonight, and hope that we can all work on the value of truth and trust in our lives. So, take care, everybody. Be well.